Hello, I'm Crystal Petry. Welcome to another episode of 60 Minutes With. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, make sure you subscribe to my channel right now. On this week's episode, we are going to talk about marketing. We're also going to talk about sales, but more importantly, what I really want you to take away from this podcast is how to show up as your true self, whether that's in business or personal. And here to educate us on marketing, on sales, and especially how to show up as your true selves, we have Arlene Cruz. So welcome to the podcast, Arlene.
Thank you, Crystal. So happy to be here.
Yes. Thank you for saying yes to being on the podcast. So where are you? Where in the world is Arlene Cruz right now?
So I am all the way in the Pacific Northwest in a city called Spanaway, Washington.
Excellent. Again, thank you for joining us. And let's jump right in to this podcast. Can you explain to myself and to my audience what is marketing?
To me, marketing is a way to convey a message, um, in like a way for a business owner to convey the message where their market understands what they're trying to convey.
Okay. So you're saying that marketing is just how you convey a specific message
Yes. To the right people.
to the right people. So that would be like to your target audience, conveying the
Yes.
correct message to your target audience. And marketing, I feel like it's such an overused word and it's used so interchangeably that I feel like a lot of people don't really know what it is. Like we feel like we know what it is because we hear it all the time, but we don't necessarily know exactly what it is. And the same thing could be said about sales. So what is sales?
Well, to me, it's the exchange of a product or service for money. That is what sales means to me.
Okay.
It's also
And
serving the client.
sales is serving the client. How so?
Well, your ideal client is probably out there already looking for what you're selling. And so you just happen to be the answer, and you're able to exchange their money or investment for what they're already looking for.
Oh, well, I feel like that gives hope for business people and entrepreneurs knowing that someone is out there looking for the service that you offer. But again, you got to have that marketing, the right message to reach them, correct? Am I kind of putting that
Totally
two and two
true.
together?
Yes, absolutely. What I'm known for saying a lot is your people are waiting for you. And I feel like when entrepreneurs or business owners think about marketing, like for the most part, they're like looking for big picture. When I'm like hone in on the people who are already paying attention to you, and that can be your people.
Okay. Now, before we get too far into the podcast, I am asking you, Arlene, about marketing and I'm asking you about sales. Explain to us exactly what it is that you do for a career so that people will know that I'm not just asking random questions to you.
That's a good point. So I'm the owner of Social Suite Business Solutions, and I consider myself to be a marketing and sales consultant. Um, and so I do have a day job, which is as an optometric technician that I work semi full time. And I've been with that small business entity for almost 23 years now. And I feel like having worked that long in a small business practice has actually aided and assisted me in the type of marketing that I offer to my clients, which is honing in on your people, and the kind of loyalty and respect and sales that that can bring where you just take care of the people who are paying attention to you.
If someone wants to reach out to you, Arlene, so you can help them with their marketing, honing in on that message, help them with their sales, finding the people who are already looking for the services that they want and need, how could they do that?
So I am on Facebook as Arlene Cruz. And that's my personal page. I don't have a business page on purpose. But other than that, I'm pretty open to just send me an email at Arlene at socialsuitesolutions.com.
Okay, excellent. Can you have sales without marketing?
Yes. And in fact, that's sometimes the backwards effort when it comes to like redefining the messaging in the marketing. Because a lot of times I run into business owners who get excited about selling an item. And then, their sales grow so large that they're not even sure like how they made that sale besides
Mhm.
just pushing a sale.
Okay.
So yes,
And
definitely.
can you have marketing without sales? Or I guess my follow-up question, I mean, that's my first question, but the follow-up question would be, would you want to have marketing without sales?
I don't think that that's the general goal of anybody trying to run a business.
Right.
Um, but I have come across like marketing efforts that maybe don't ultimately evolve into a sale. But then again, that's the part that I help my clients with, as far as messaging goes, and to the right people, always to the right people.
To the right people. What would you say is the most important thing that needs to be done in marketing?
I feel like it is alignment. Um, Alignment with what the business owner is wanting more so than what the people are asking for. And I say that to say that a lot of times when people are marketing the same way that they've seen everybody else on the internet market, or their best friend or their business partner has said, try it this way, somewhere along the line, there's going to be a disconnect between what the business owner is actually wanting to put out there. There's going to be a disconnect between that and what they're attracting. So I feel like aligning the business owner's wishes and desires with the messaging can give you good marketing to attract the people that actually are looking for you.
So you have spoken about attracting the people that are looking for you, lining up with your ideal client. How does someone know who their ideal client is? What should they be looking for?
Ooh, that's a big question. um, how do they repeat the question for me, please?
How does someone know who their ideal client is?
Well, I feel like even in my own experience, when I put myself out there in the way that's aligned with how I'm thinking or feeling about what I want to put out there, like ideal clients to me, because I am one to certain businesses, is someone that just says, yep, you understand what I'm saying. You're the person that can help me get to where I need to get to. And then where do I send the money? Like that to me is like an ideal client. Not too much talk in between or trying to sell them or convince them on anything. Definitely not your people. So alignment again, it always goes back to alignment for me.
Listen, that sounds like the ideal client for me too.
Doesn't that sound good? And it feels good. It feels
Yes.
good.
Yes. They just want the service. They just want the product. Here, take my money.
Take my money.
Take my money. That's the ideal client for me too, Arlene.
Yeah, take my money and let's get to work. So that's my
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Okay, what would you say are the top things that cause a company or a small business marketing to fail? What are they doing wrong?
So two things came to mind, which is spray and pray. That's a phase or a phrase that has been going out a lot. So basically just like hoping you put something out there, a message or a marketing piece out there, hoping that things are going to come your way, not really paying attention to like the buying cycle, or even like, I don't know, like the buying cycle of the person that you're speaking to. So that's the one thing. And then the other thing in failing as a business owner is, again, like putting out the wrong message. Like I feel like if you put something out there, have an objective as to why you're putting it out there, and that's how you measure its success. Like, I don't know, I think that every piece you put out there serves a purpose, and rather than having one piece serve all the purpose, you just confuse people that way.
Okay. And what about in sales? What do you think causes small businesses, companies to fail with their sales department?
Follow through and follow up,
Okay.
period.
So what, okay, follow through and follow up. What does that mean?
So a lot of times I have experienced business owners just give up on, for example, if I said I was interested in your product and then I said, it's probably not the right time for me, a lot of times my business owners would just be like, okay, they said no. And that doesn't mean that what that customer or potential client said does not mean no to me. It says I'm interested, it's not the right time. And so, aside from marketing and sales consultant, I also am responsible for building like back end processes to really give your client a really exponential experience in customer service. And so part of that operation is building a follow up strategy as well, because I'm always hearing, I don't want to follow up because I feel like I'm bothering them. I don't want to be annoying. Well, if you go about it from an annoying d- perspective or whatever, or direction, then you're gonna be annoying. But there's a way to say to someone, hey, I know we had a chat about this the other last month, and at that time, things weren't you weren't ready, or whatever the case may be. Things change for people like within a week, within a day, within a month, and then you just never know. And so that, I feel, is the most like, that's what stops people from making the sale, is not following up and following through on the message or on the person. People
Okay.
change.
And how how many days, and you can guesstimate this. Someone says, "I'm interested, but it's not the right time. I'm interested, I don't have the money right now. I'm interested, I don't have time to commit," or whatever the case is, whatever reason that they
Mhm.
give you. How long after that initial conversation of "I'm interested, but," should the small business owner reach out again? Would you say a month, 2 months?
Well, for me, my system is built for 2 weeks, 2 months, 4 months, and then 6 months. With the clients that I work with, we build their own system for what's feasible for their time and their efforts that they can put into their business. But yeah, I have a general 2 by 2 by 2 by 4.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So 2 weeks after the initial "I'm interested, but," and
Mhm.
then 2 months, again, hey, just checking to see if you're ready kind of conversation, and then 4 months after that. So 2 weeks, 2 months, 4 months.
Yes. But the conversation, well, the reach out for me, the follow up doesn't normally say like, "Are you ready now?" It's more of a check-in. How are things going with you in the business? Has anything changed since the last time we spoke? So I'm not really selling, but I'm truly checking in to find
Okay.
out if the business owner has met their goals, what's changed in their life or their business development. And I believe that that has gotten me more sales than like, "Are you ready now?"
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Because "Are you ready now?" to me only relays the message that I'm the business owner. I want your sale. I come from a place where it's just, I really want you to do well. And so if you already know that you're interested in what I have, you just aren't ready for that, how are things going? Like, what can I help you do, to help you move that along, even if the decision is not to work with me? just kind of
Okay.
touch base.
Okay. Something else that you are going to educate us on is showing up as your true self. So, when I say that, showing up as your true self, what does that mean? Because again, I feel like marketing, it's an overused, diluted term at this point in time.
Hmm. Oh, authentic self. When I think about that, it just means that, say what you're for, say what you're not for. Um, and if you plan, and so most of the business owners I work with outside of my day job is they're online businesses. And so showing up authentically, I say like if there's something that you want to put out there and you think of somebody that you're trying to like not disappoint, you're not going to show up authentically. So like if you can just put yourself out there as the business owner and not worry about what somebody else is thinking or going to say about you, then that would be a way that you can show up authentically. I know that in my work with business owners too, and mostly women, but I have worked with teens and men. Um, it's really tough for women to get out of that whole what are they going to say about me, and they don't want to appear mean or nasty or pushy or whatever. And I'm like, if that's not what you want, then don't put that on your business side of you. Like there's two sides to you, and I feel like you should bring the personal side of you into your business because that's the part that's going to make you stand out.
Okay. Okay. Would you say that that is more of a female trait, worrying about if they're going to think I'm pushy or bossy, or do you see that in men and equally in women?
I don't want to say it's equally, but it also is not just a woman thing or a female trait. I believe women are more open to admitting that than men are.
Yes, yes, I agree. I
Mhm.
absolutely agree. Does someone need to show up as their true, authentic selves to be successful in marketing, to be successful in sales?
Not necessarily, because there are lots of people out there making good sales without being their authentic self. But if I was to truly dive deeper into the person and the relationship they have with their self, like I have seen the struggles behind the scenes, and I feel like that's the reason why, is because you're putting yourself or marketing your business out there just like everybody else, and sometimes you don't agree with it, and you're thinking what worked for them must work for me. This has to be the way, and I don't believe that that's true.
Okay, okay. Um, we live in a country, and I feel like everyone that's listening can is probably shaking their head. Yes, we're living in a country right now where they're telling you what the standard of beauty is. They're telling you what the standard of being handsome and being muscular is, and how your nose needs to look, and how your hips and your hair, like everything, they're just
Yes.
dictating to us, this is what beautiful hair looks like. This is what beautiful lips look like. How can someone block out all of that noise that we're constantly getting every day and just be able to say, okay, this is me. This is my true authentic selves without the interruption of what everyone is telling us what beauty is, what success is. How can someone do that? Which is a big ask, I know.
It is, but it's a big ask, but like right off the bat, I would say just create your own standard. That really is it because again, if you're not the one, if it's not you that's showing up, then you're gonna look like everybody else, and you know, all their standards are gonna somehow um pour onto you, and then you're just not yourself anymore. But if you are just creating your own standard, I'm positive that your people are going to see that in you, and then you attract the people.
Now, we have been talking about showing up as your true self, showing up as your authentic self. But why is that even important? Why is it important to show up as your true, authentic self in business and in personal life?
For me, it's just like it's important because again, at the end of the day, it's just you and you. And so I feel like if someone has to be somebody else to make the sale, to, I don't know, to attract more clients and all that, it's almost like you're taking off a mask and like a character and then let that sit where it's sat and then you're home and you're just you. Um, so I don't know. It's something that definitely takes time because we have all been conditioned and programmed to think about the way things should be, could be, has to be, must be. And I feel like every time someone adapts to something like that, they're just peeling away at the person that they truly are and who deserves to be seen.
I love how you phrased that when you said it's just you and you. It's just
Mhm.
you and you, no one else.
Mhm.
And I feel like it's also exhausting. I feel like if you're not showing up as your true self, you're showing up trying to look like Mark or you're showing up trying to act like Crystal, that is exhausting.
Really?
Ah, and then you go home, like you said, you got to take off this mask and you're just pooped. You're just exhausted because all day you've been trying to act like Mark and,
Yeah,
and all weekend you've been trying to act like Crystal. Like,
and
who
there
am
you go.
I? Who
There
am I?
you go. Yeah, and I don't like the idea of, and of course, a lot of this is just my own personal opinion, perspectives, right? And so I don't like the idea of us hanging out online, if that's the only place that we hang out, and then all of a sudden we get to meet each other in person and you are nothing, nothing like you are online. That's a very big turn down on a personal level and a business level. Because if you can perform like that someplace else, then what can you do behind the scenes is what I'm always thinking. And I'm not like a saint and all that. Like I have fallen into those things like, oh my God, she tried that. Let me go try this. And it never panned out because it was always bringing me to a place where first I didn't believe what they believed. And then it created its own persona that really wasn't me. And so, yeah, it was very exhausting.
Okay, so you are here really talking about three separate things that interlink, in my opinion, anyway. So with this next question, I would like for you to break it down for in the three things that we're here talking about. What is your personal intention in the space of marketing? What is your personal intention in the space of sales? And what is your personal intention in the space of showing up and helping people be their true authentic selves?
Freedom. That is
Yes.
my intention. It's just freedom. I am tired of hearing and seeing my business owners tired and exhausted about like having to do things other people's way. Like I create customized strategies for them with them in mind, and not just their business, but them as a person, as a mom, as a spouse, as a woman, as a male. Like all of that I take into consideration because I know that I've experienced this too. Like there's people call it sacrifice. I don't like that word sacrifice. Like we just got to do what we got to do to get things done. And a lot of times that also has been, let me just not have time in this area of my life and put all my time in the other area of my life. Well, in the back end, that other area of your life is like not necessarily failing, but neglected. I like using that word, like unintentionally being neglected. Um, and so when I say freedom, I mean let's design a marketing and sales strategy that works with your life so that you don't end up resenting getting a lot of clients. Like, so you don't end up resenting your family because you think is blocking you from getting all the clients. So I think that freedom is the way I would break that down really simply.
Okay. When we initially spoke about you being on the podcast, I was calling you a coach because in my mind, you're coaching, you're helping people be better in marketing, really hone in their message. You're coaching people to be better salesmen and saleswomen, attracting clients that's already looking for them. You're helping or coaching people to really show up as their true, authentic selves. So after my spiel, you said, you know what? I don't really consider myself a coach. After I had called you coach like 20 times. So
It's
why, Arlene? It's funny now. It's funny now.
very funny.
Why do you not consider yourself a coach?
And it may just be because of the experiences that I've had with a coach. Like
Okay.
to me, when I think of a coach, I automatically go to like baseball, football, sports. The
Oh,
coach
okay.
kind of just is, I'm looking at it from a big picture view, and then I'm telling you what you need to do.
Yes.
I'm even the word consultant, I'm so like it's like an identity crisis, honestly, for business, right? Because I know that the patients and customers or
Yes.
clients that I have worked with, I don't stop at that surface level. Like if I'm your resource, I'm your advocate, I'm actually your implementer if you need that. And so I have a very strategic and vision oriented mind. And so, yes, I can oversee things as the coach. I can tell you what places that you should probably, venture into. But I'm also that person who will get down there and do it with you. Like I'm on the field with you. And I don't know that I know I haven't experienced any coaches like that.
Yeah.
So
No.
maybe it's just my experience with a coach that is like, ew, don't call me a coach.
Yes. Okay, so instead of coach or consultant, what would you prefer? Or do you even
Well,
want a title?
I don't want a title, but I've got to be something for somebody to understand what it is I'm doing.
Yeah.
I just feel like titles are really constricting and, place in a box. Um, but I do understand the importance of it if I'm trying to market and
Right,
make
right,
sales. So
right.
yeah. Um, Consultant sounds fine for now. I sit comfortably in that. I know that my clients who I work with will definitely argue that I'm more than just a consultant as well. It's business partner, it's advocate again. I would say, like, I'm really like locking arms side by side with you, and we're doing this together.
Right. Okay. So, how do you, as a consultant or a coach or a mentor, but really just Arlene Cruz, how do you help people show up as their true selves?
Um, wow, that again is another big question. I come from a standpoint of believing that in your potential. And I'm guilty of it too, not even seeing my own potential. I can look at a situation from a personal and a professional perspective of a business owner and be like, you have got you have got so much more than what you're putting out there. Um, and so we work through a lot of imposter syndrome, only because of all the things that we're conditioned to being, to consuming. We
Hmm.
work through a lot of that. I know that my path to success for my clients are refining your mindset, redefining your brand, revamping your messaging, and then reigniting your marketing. And so I feel like if any of those points are not in alignment with who you are, things are going to be off. Like you've got to have the right mindset to be able to put out the right messaging to be able to market what you actually want to market. And so, in my mind, those are the four things that I work with on helping my customers show up authentically.
How does someone know if their mindset is not where it needs to be? Is it a feeling? Is it an outward? reaction and outward appearance?
I feel like no one really knows, um, because if I was to just go straight into like mindset and marketing, like nobody wakes up in the middle of the night saying, "Oh my goodness, I need a mindset shift today." Nobody does that.
Yeah.
And so how we unravel things like that is I'm always like my clients will even ask me, even personal people were like, "God, you ask so many questions." But the questions I ask, they're not because I need anything from you. They're questions I'm asking because I need to pull those out of you. Like, what do you want this to look like?
Yeah.
And so, for example, if someone's the people who come to me are like, I don't know how to, I don't know what to say on social media, and I'm like, okay, where does that come from? Are you saying you don't know your stuff, like your business? Or are you saying you don't know what to say because you've seen what other people are doing and you think you should say that, but you don't want to?
Right.
Like, there's so many layers of why you don't show up authentically. And not that it's like a bad thing, you just didn't know any different.
Okay. Is there a certain age, and I'm sure it probably isn't, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Is there a certain age where people become more comfortable, more bold in showing up for themselves? Because I remember, and I'm an Oprah stan, I absolutely love her, but she was doing an interview with Tina Turner, and this was so many years ago. And they both were talking about, I think at like age 50 or 60, something like that. Once they got to that age that they felt like they were their true selves. They could say what they wanted to say, without being disrespectful, of course, do what they wanted to do, wear what they wanted to wear, and not be influenced by the outside noise.
Yep. I don't think they're off at all. So I will be 50 in October this year. And
No.
yes,
Wow. Okay, for my Apple Pod audience, she looks amazing. You need to switch over to my YouTube. You do not look like you're about to be 50. I thought you were in
yes.
your 30s.
No, ma'am. 50. I earned every part of it.
Yes.
So I feel like I do feel like at when I was 40, well, I don't know, because I've been always on a track on my own anyway. Like I
Okay.
never follow trends. I don't like following crowds. If it doesn't work for me, I'm just not gonna do it.
Mhm.
Um, And so that road has been an easy road for me to follow, right? But then when you
Mhm.
get into business, then you're like, oh my God, I'm doing everything wrong. I should do this, I should do that. Um, and I feel like for me, because I've always been like, I don't really care if it doesn't work for me, then I'm not doing it. It's
Mhm.
been an easier transition for me in my late 30s, all of my 40s, and now approaching 50. It's like for real, we're getting to the point where I really don't care. Like, and not in a bad way, just
Mhm.
like again, if it's not working for me, then we ain't doing it.
Yeah. I love it. That needs to be on a bumper sticker. If it's not working for me, we ain't doing
No,
it.
we
Just
ain't.
like that. Just like that. How does someone, in your opinion, how does someone develop self-confidence?
Because this is something that I've struggled with a lot. I feel like just repetition and consistency. Because somebody can build self-confidence in a negative direction, and then like for building self-confidence to do anything, I feel like it's just one itty bitty practice moment at a time. Um, and you're gonna, I know for me, I'll just speak for myself, like that's not the surefire fire route, because there are some times when I'm just like, ooh, I don't know if I could do that.
Mhm.
But then you just try, and then you just try again, and you just keep working at it. So I feel like that's the way to do it.
I feel like, and I'm in total agreement with you, I feel like self confidence or lack of self confidence is a learned behavior. You either learn to have
Mhm.
self confidence or you learn to not have self confidence. Either way, you're learning.
That's deep. I love that.
Thank
I'm
you.
gonna have to write that should be on a bumper sticker.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Part of self-confidence is, having standards and having values. How does someone develop those standards and those values?
Well, I know for myself, the value part comes really close to heart because, again, if it doesn't serve me or my family, then we're just not doing it. And
Hmm.
so I just pick from a basket of things that I know that I can stand for and with. Um, and everything about my life revolves around that. Um, and so people value things, all kinds of things differently. And so they would just have to do it, pick out what works for them. What's more important to you than anything.
Okay.
And just kind of live that way.
What do you think gets in a way of a person being true to themselves, being authentic?
Again, like the consumption of media and how things they should be or they're being told how to be.
Hmm.
And I completely understand roles, right? Like I know that I am confident in my role as an optometric technician. Why? Because I've been doing it for 23 years. And then when you step over to the business world, because I do work with people who have full-time jobs, very demanding full-time jobs, and then stepping over to the business world where this is your thing, um, it's very easy to look around and look at media and consume things that make you feel like you're doing it wrong, do it this way. Um, and I feel like sometimes that is what holds people back, like just being told that this is the way it should be, even if it doesn't sit right in your heart or in your being. Like, I
Mm.
feel like that's part of the reason.
Yes, yes. Do you think, and we've been talking about it, at great lengths on this podcast, but do you think saying show up as your true self is easier than actually showing up as your true self?
No, ma'am.
Really? Okay, explain.
I don't think it's easy because if it's easy, everybody would be doing it.
True.
Um,
True.
and I think the way that I have always lived is I'm always concerned of what the future self is like. Arlene, are you at 50 going to be happy that at 23 you did whatever? Like that kind of I like legacy thinking is how I've
Yes.
always been. And so I feel like also when I'm working with clients or patients, like I'm always, you know, 5 years down the road, are you going to be happy? Is your business going to be like what is it going to do at this point if you make this decision here? And when I'm talking about business owners and clients, it's about the way that they're treating their current clients. Like how is this going to ripple affect the future of your business and the way you want to show up?
Oh, wow. You're dropping some gems today, Arlene.
Am I,
You are dropping some gems today.
Crystal? I am so nervous.
I can't tell. I cannot tell. You are doing so good. I just felt like I
Thank
needed
you.
to tell you, like, you are blowing me away on this podcast.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, yes. Um, Whenever we talk about, showing up as your true authentic selves, most people, myself included, feel like, that's the good stuff about us. We're happy, we're entertaining, whatever. But what about like the negative stuff about us? We all have something. Like we all have
Mhm,
something. So when we're talking about showing up as your true authentic selves, what about the bad parts or the parts that still need refining?
mhm. Excuse me. So I'm again going to talk about how business owners come to me and say, I don't know how to show up on social media.
Hmm.
Um, and if, I mean, we could scroll our timelines and feeds and everything is happy and it's a highlight reel, right? So
Yes.
everything that's highlighted in your life, you're so happy to post about. And then very rarely do you see somebody like, not not feeling their best or you
Exactly.
know or expressing that. And I feel like there's a way to decipher what I feel is personal and what I feel is private. So personal things to me, likes and dislikes, those are things that I don't mind sharing with the people because I know that that's who I am. And it's not a bad idea for them to know that too, because
Mhm.
then when they come for me or at me or conversate with me, they know, okay, she doesn't like that. So we're just not going to do that or talk about it. So that's something that's like personal stuff.
Mhm.
Private things, I know that, people, me included, I like to follow stories. I like to start with someone and then ride out their journey with them, good, bad, ugly, whatever. And so if I like that, I know that my people also like that too. And so there are times when for me, I show up on social media and I'm like, yo, this was hard. I'm nervous today. I'm doing this. And like, I think that we attract more of our own people because we can resonate with them or they with us rather than always looking so flashy, always looking so put together. Like everybody knows that's not real. And
Yeah.
again, you go home and take all that stuff off, and then who are you left with? Do you even know? Like, do you even know who you are?
Yes. And it comes
Yeah.
back to something you said earlier with the you, it's just you and you.
Mm-hmm.
And every day you are not happy. Every day you are not put together. Every day you are not perfect.
Right.
Social media really it portrays a fake life to me
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
of exactly what you said, Arlene. When you are on social media, whether that's Facebook or TikTok or IG, a lot of times people are not showing you, the bad days, the arguments, I'm not talking to my husband right now, my child is mad at me, or, I had a horrible day at work. Like, no one is saying that stuff.
Right.
And it makes
Right.
other people who are consuming that feel like, oh, I'm never supposed to have a bad day.
Right. Or
Oh,
what am I doing? What am I doing wrong? Like, how
what
come
am I
she's always happy?
doing? Yes, yes. And that's so not true. It's so not
Absolutely.
true. Can people show up as their authentic selves at work? I feel like it might be a little easier to do it at home, but like at work, you are surrounded with other people, with these expectations of you, whether said or unsaid. So,
Mhm.
can you show up as your authentic self at work?
Speaking from my own experience, I'm going to say yes, because if that were not the case where I'm currently working, I would have not stayed there as long as I have. Um, and then hopping over to the entrepreneurial side, it's again about roles. Like we know who we have to be at our place of employment in a role, but that doesn't mean that Arlene can't laugh when she's happy. Like that doesn't mean I can't tell somebody that today's not a good day to talk about that. And so if anybody is working in that situation, I suggest you find a different place to be
Yeah.
because because again, that's going to be exhausting. I know that I myself and my patients and my clients and my friends know that if we are together in my day job and we meet at the store, you're going to see the same Arlene. Like there isn't going to be, the only difference is I have a lab coat on where I work and I'm your eye care professional as well as Arlene. And then if I'm at the grocery store, guess what? I'm still Arlene. So yes, I do feel like people can be their authentic self, with regard to respecting the expectations of the business itself and other people.
Mhm,
I know that my employer hires people that way too. Like this is your role and you just be who you are in that role and you
mhm.
shine. And it's a happier day at the office, honestly.
Yeah. And it's a happier day for you as the individual, the employer or the owner, but it also is a happier day for other people. Like indirectly, it helps
Mhm.
them as well.
Absolutely. I've had people say to me, "Are you always like this?" And I'm like, this is all you got. Like, this
Yeah,
is me.
yeah.
Tell you.
Yes. It's
And
showing
then
up.
it's
Uh-huh.
trickling. It's trickling. Like people
The
feel that
trickle down
energy.
effect. Yes. Yes, yes. And you know what? That as you were saying that, it makes me think about how people talk about energy. You know, how your energy is contagious. So if you're having, a great day and positive energy, that's contagious to the next person. But in the same breath, if you are, you have negative energy, that's also contagious to the next person.
It is. Energy is one of my other favorite things to talk about. You bring
Yeah,
it everywhere you go.
you do.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to have you back on here to talk about energy.
Are we out? We're almost out of time.
No.
But I mean, that also goes into what I
Yeah.
teach my clients too. Like, listen, I don't care if you have the biggest smile on your picture and your words have all these bad energy things coming out. People feel that. Is that what
Yes.
you want? Because
Yes.
I doubt that that's what you want. And it's not their fault. There's something inside of you that's making you show up like that.
Mhm.
And we got to fix that first.
Right. You got to figure out what that is.
Hmm.
Is showing up as your true, authentic self, is that a decision you have to make every day? Like every day you get out of bed, you make the decision, okay, I got to get out of bed. You make the decision to brush your teeth and wash your face. And then you make the decision, I'm going to show up for my true self today.
I hope that it's not a decision and that it just is. Um, I hope that it's not a decision you have to make. Because if it's a decision you have to make, then are you really going to show up that way? Because it's
That's a
like
great
reverse,
question.
it's a reverse role, right? If I'm going to decide on media or at my job, I'm going to show up a different way, then if in the morning before I get there, I have to decide whether or not to be myself, that's
Yes.
work, in
Yes.
my opinion.
You know what? I did not think about that possibility when I wrote that question out. But you are absolutely correct. If you have to make the decision, that means, yeah,
And
yeah,
you're not,
right, right. Because being your true, authentic self should just be a natural occurrence. You
right?
shouldn't have to work at it.
I don't think that would be a lot of work.
That would be a lot of work. You are
Yes.
right about that. I did not even think about that, but yes, you are absolutely correct with that. Let's talk about finding your voice.
Mhm.
When you are being authentic and being your true self, along with that, you have to be able to find your voice. Talk to us
Mhm.
about the importance of finding and owning your voice.
I'm gonna relate it again back to alignment and authenticity.
Hmm.
Um, and I'm always speaking from a place that I have been. And
Okay.
so I know that if I try and speak like Crystal and I look like Arlene, that's not gonna match. Um, and so I think that finding your voice is very important because again, that is gonna separate you from your competition. Um, and that those are the things that a lot of business owners don't consider only because of the conditioning that they've been consuming. They don't consider that those are the minor things that have big impact in your people because there are a lot of people out there who can show up like Arlene and Crystal, and then you know who they're going to attract? People who like Arlene and Crystal. Like they're not going to attract themselves or the people that actually hear their voice. And again, I speak from experience because of the whole like I should do it this way, I should say something that way. And then, more and more recently as I've aged and grown and matured a little bit, it's like, no, this is you. Put this out here. Like, what are you wanting? Like if you have someone in your mind that you're saying, "Oh my gosh, so and so won't like this," then that's not you showing up, and you change it, then that's not you showing up as your authentic self. And it's work. Those are decisions that I believe have to be made.
Okay.
When you in a way to show up authentically. It's like, are you really putting this out there because it's how you truly feel? Or are you stopping what you want to say because somebody over you, whoever it is, family, friends, partners, whatever, might not like it or might criticize you on it? Then you're not putting yourself out there authentically.
Absolutely. How does someone, and piggybacking on what you just said, how does someone get to a point to where they can trust their voice and they know that, okay, this is how I'm speaking, this is how I'm showing up. I'm not trying to sound like Crystal, I'm not trying to sound like Arlene, but this is how I sound and this is how I show up. How can they get to a point to where they can trust that and trust that this is me and this is my voice?
Itty bitty baby steps. I often hear, and I can dive more into that. I often hear, I wish I was like you. I wish I could do this like you, Arlene. But I'm like, you don't understand the road I had to go through to get to that kind of Arlene. And everybody's journey is different. We all know that. And I know that trusting yourself and your voice for me is like a gut thing. Intuition, that's another thing about energy I love talking about because intuition, when I've gone against it, everything blows up.
Yes, that
But
part.
when I follow, yeah, when I follow my intuition, and it's also a part of the coaching and consulting that I do with my clients, like if it don't feel right, we just won't do it
Yes.
because you're going to have to deal with that return on investment after you put that stuff out there. So I don't know, intuition is it for me. It's a gut feeling. Like you're doing it right, girl. Keep going.
How does someone know as a coach, as a mentor, as Arlene Cruz, how does someone know when they are ready to take off the mask and just start showing up as their authentic selves?
I definitely think it's an evolution, and I don't think that it's a I know tomorrow I'm gonna do it this way.
Hmm.
Um, and I feel in my mind I'm always seeing like just little one step at a time. Like because that's the route that I took. And if you're a person that can say tomorrow I'm gonna be authentic, yay you. That's not what I've been finding out though.
Hmm.
But again, baby steps. Like tell yourself you're going to do something and do it. That's one baby step. You now you trust yourself because you actually accomplished the thing that you said you're going to do. Tell yourself two things you're going to do and then do it. And then you just kind of keep building over on top of that. And then I don't know that anybody, I don't know. I haven't, I didn't just wake up and say I'm ready. I don't know that that's a thing.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't think it is too. I mean, I don't know. I'm in my lived experience, it has not been a thing. But maybe someone listening here, or watching, maybe that has been a thing for them. But in my lived experience, it has not. It's been baby, micro. If there's anything smaller
Micro,
than
you got it.
micro steps, that
Yes.
has been my path. Just little bit,
Mm-hmm.
little bit, little bit.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's again because of the way we've been raised or conditioned or whatever. I come from an island, so we're very culturally induced or injected or whatever you want to say. Culture is us. And so to have to even peel off like, do I really believe what they're saying? Or, should I really act that way? Those are just layers and layers that I've had to pull away to become who I am. And is it constant work? Yes. Those are decisions again that I make every day, whether or not I'm going to go left or go right.
Yeah.
But the baby steps is definitely there's no lie in that. There's no denying that for me. Like it had to be incremental steps to be like, you like put your toe in the sand a little bit and you're like, oh, it doesn't feel that bad. Then you put your whole foot in there and you're like, dang, this feels good. Right?
Yes.
So stuff like that to me is just how I feel I was more confident to be authentic. I don't know. I guess that makes sense.
It does. It does. Absolutely. I feel like a lot of people can understand the beach or the dirt or the water metaphor. You
Hmm.
dip that baby toe in there and see, check it
Yes.
out, and then you go a little bit more, a little bit more, yeah, until you're consumed with it. Let's talk about like family and friends or the community you have around you. Does your community, your family, your friends, even your coworkers, do they help you show up more as your authentic selves? And should you have people around you that help you show up more authentically?
So your second to the answer to your second question is absolutely. Um, and when I speak of my own family dynamic, I'm gonna tell you that I had to build that frame in my people's minds, my husband, my 3 kids. They know where my heart is, where I'm just all giving. Listen, I will make sure if you tell me what you're doing today and there's something I need to accomplish, we'll make sure yours gets done, but when it's my turn, then it's my turn. And so yes, I feel like you have to have that type of environment around you. Otherwise, you just keep falling into their own expectations and stuff like that. Um, and I do feel like I have that type of support around me. I want to say in my home life, I've had to come from we all come from the same island and culture.
Hmm.
So you could only imagine how Arlene is saying, we don't have to do it this way. And everyone behind me is like, oh, but we've always done it that way.
Wow.
You know.
You breaking generational stuff over there, Arlene.
Yes, because I've seen it. I've seen women stuck in marriages that it's supposed to be that way, so you should do that. I've seen women and marriages stay together only for kids. I've seen just like, and it's a very sad thing to watch. And so if you find I have a life partner that and our vision is the same, our purpose is the same to grow old together, and we know that it's not going to be always roses and rainbows, but when you know that, then it makes those obstacles a little easier to go through because we're going through it together.
Hmm.
And so yeah, I think that's where I'm just like freedom is a very deep word for me.
Yes, absolutely. Listen, you have been so great on this podcast. And I feel like you have really showed up as just your authentic, true self on this podcast.
Wow, thank you.
Yes. As we're talking and teaching and educating other people on how to do it, I feel like you are doing it.
And I feel like that's why it's easy for me to talk about because I do live it.
Hmm.
I do live it. So thank you for the compliment.
Absolutely. Okay, so my final question for you, Arlene, who do you think would make a great guest on the podcast, but you have to help me get them on?
Yes, so I am very proud of my client. Her name is Fanya
Hmm.
Hughes, and she's a dog mom, she's a husband, or she's a wife, and she also is a director of a call center in Georgia. Her side business or her baby that she's growing is as a travel agent. And she's been in that business, I want to say almost 5 years now. Um, but I believe she'd be a wonderful guest on your podcast. The, she can speak from a place of having a very demanding day job and how to incorporate her life into her business and also into her family life.
Wow. So she sounds like she can really talk about work life balance.
We wouldn't say balance,
Mhm.
but how we make it work. Yes.
Yes. You know what? That's a great title for that podcast, How We Make It Work.
How, yeah. Because I mean, some days again, like it's not that you're sacrificing things, but some things are gonna get neglected. And
Hmm.
something I'm famous for saying is like, what's on first? Like, what building is burning first? We'll go put that fire out, and then everything else behind that we can manage.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Arlene, for being on my podcast and giving your time and giving your treasure to me and to my audience. Thank you so much.
Gosh, I appreciate this opportunity. Thank you so much for reaching out. We definitely have to connect on another time.
Absolutely. I'm in total agreement with that. Total.
Perfect.
And to my audience and my listeners, thank you so much for tuning in and watching. You can get Arlene's podcast and all of my other podcasts on YouTube Podcasts and Apple Podcasts. And remember, you always have time to listen and learn on the go.